Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Wednesday evening for us.
It's very.
It's
It's
quite late.
so dark now. It's so depressing. Like more driving to work, coming back, like being dark. You don't mind because you feel like it's the end of the work day.
Yeah.
So you're like dark. It's like, wow, this is really pitch black, Ben. But for some reason,
Dark
Ben
lights.
thinks it's a clever idea to walk down the back tracks at like nearly 9 o'clock. Well, it is 9 o'clock at night.
Look, it's got street lights. What are you talking about?
So yes, but in the morning when it's like 5 a.m. fair enough, but 6 a.m. and it's pitch black and you're like, oh,
Sad times.
so unfair. I've got white trainers on by the way as well. This is not a clever walk.
I'm sorry, Josie. It's
okay.
just that first little bit. I cycle home along here. This is great. This is the fun bit. We'll get torches next time. For definite. We're also doing it here and now because my son's currently in Sea Cadets, like literally just around the corner. So worst case scenario, I can sprint off and get him after this is done. But perhaps most importantly, we've been talking about Chinese Chinese food.
How does everybody make their stir fries? That's the question of the week. Let me know if you listen to this, how everybody makes their stir fries. Maybe that is next week's challenge.
Well,
There we go.
I'm a
Very
fan of
good.
stir fry. I'm not going to lie. I'm a fan of stir fry because it's really easy to do. You can get a really good combination of kind of protein, veg, carbs, all that kind of good stuff in there. Throw it together on a weeknight, no problems at all. But we were talking about, do we use packet sauce? Of course not, Josie. But then how do you go about making it? But I did confess that I do very, very occasionally get some of Ben's sweet and sour sauce. Because it's like old school for me. It reminds me of being a child, just like really sickly sweet kind of.
Always sounds better than you think. Like, it always tastes better in your head than it does.
Yeah, 100%. You have it and then you go, I remember what I don't get that very regularly. But yeah, let us know what's stir fry options.
Because I love a stir fry, but I find it really hard because obviously I make my own because we don't buy stuff off the shelves. But it's so hard to not make it high in salt because I don't want like soy sauce and things like that. Because like 1 tablespoon of soy sauce is like your daily dose of salt for the day.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, what else? How else do I make a sauce? So yeah, let me know.
Do you not put a bit of you can cook a bit of seaweed up with your rice? So I used to do it with miso paste in with the rice, but that's quite high salt.
Yeah.
So whacking
Oyster
like
sauce.
whatchamacallit, like nori sheets, or these days you can get like dried
sounds
seaweeds
really
in packets. Well, you come from Sainsbury's anyway.
No, there you go, middle class.
Yeah. Anyway, stir fry. That wasn't what we were meant to be talking about.
No,
Tonight,
so
was
we'll
it?
do questions of the week first,
Yeah.
and then we'll go to the topic, which is the different heart rate zones.
Yeah.
So, question of the week first was to you, wasn't it?
It was. So Briege asked me this one on her new program, and it was basically paused reps, which is great because I'm going to get to geek out a little bit here about paused reps. But the question was, so this is for a dumbbell bench press that she's got in at the moment. And the question was,
Is it a
where does she
deadlift?
pause?
Oh, is it?
I'm sure it was
okay,
on the
sorry.
bench, yeah.
Yes, I know I've given her deadlifts as well.
Might be on the deadlift, so maybe she hadn't got to that in a week yet. But yeah, so it's a case of where does she actually pause the movement in the bench press? And there's actually quite a lot to dig into there. So first and foremost, I thought it'd be useful to say, like, why do we put paused reps in to start off with? And there's a couple of really good reasons. They've got nothing to do really with kind of where the pause goes. But first and foremost, there's kind of, I'm going to say, time under tension or time under load. So if you think about your standard set and say that takes you 30 seconds to complete 10 reps, for example. If you do paused reps and you put a 2-second pause in, for example, on each one of those reps, all of a sudden your set is going to take you 45 seconds, 50 seconds, maybe even longer. So you double in or potentially double in the amount of time that you are spent under load. So you just get a better overload in your training, which is really, really cool, using weights that you're relatively comfortable with. And I think the second good thing, and this is one that I really drill in with people when it comes to form as well, when you're in that paused position, it's a really good time to check in and so let's take the bench as an example. Are you squeezing those dumbbell handles as tight as you can? Is your back locked down with your shoulder blades driving down into the bench? Are your legs engaged? Is your core engaged? So giving you that opportunity, you're not just banging through the reps, just trying to get them done as quickly as possible. You're actually able to stop and to focus on usually the hardest bit of the movement pattern, and how do you feel in that position, and are you working as hard as you can. So I think that's 2 reasons for me for putting them in. But where do you pause? Where would you say people should pause?
I'd pause at the bottom
Yeah, I
in
usually
the
say just
like stretched position.
yeah, most stretch position, absolutely. So in the dumbbell, it's the dumbbell bench press or any bench press, that would be when the bar and or dumbbells is closest to the chest, elbows fully flexed. Squat, you're basically in the bottom of the squat position. Essentially, the way that I always think about it is the place where the movement feels hardest.
Yeah.
So if you're not quite sure, just think about the place that you would least like to be, and that's probably where you should be pausing. Is the simple answer.
Yeah, and there's a couple of reasons why we put them in, but like also it depends on, is that a cat or a fox? Pretty sure it's a fox.
I don't know, I wasn't looking.
A little bit scared. But could be, say for example, week 1 we say like 5 sets of 5, and you are lifting for your bench 10s. The week after it's the same rep range, but it says pause. Rather than going up in weight, it's trying to use those 10s again, but adding a pause, which again pushes towards the hypertrophy and which is what helps muscle grow.
Yeah.
And trying to keep that weight makes it a little bit harder rather than always having to go up in weight.
Yeah.
Because like
100%.
we've said a few times, it can be physically impossible sometimes to go up in weight, even though the weights start to feel easier.
Yeah.
Gravity, general wrist strength, other body parts, stuff like that.
Absolutely. Sometimes if it's so stuff like, I'm going to say shoulder press would be an example of that, because the shoulders are such a small muscle group. Actually, the load or the change in load. So if you go from a 10 kilo to a 12 kilo, that's actually a 20% increase in load.
Yeah.
And it might just be that you physically don't have the capacity to move that way. So adding in that pause instead, like Joe says, puts you into that kind of progressive overload, but without having to pick up heavier weights. And essentially what's happening in there, so there's a couple of things really. Number one, I think Joe, you mentioned, we're taking out like the stretch reflex response. So as your muscle contracts, as you get into that fully flexed position, it's basically storing energy within it. So if you use that stored energy, if you move quickly through that repetition, you can use that stored energy to basically bounce back out of the bottom position. But if you put the pause in, that stored energy effectively dissipates into the body, and therefore you have to re-engage to drive. So it forces you to work that little bit harder, and therefore get that little bit stronger by doing it. But also there's within that isometric hold, so the isometric hold, basically you're under tension but you're not moving, and you also get stronger around that joint angle. So around 15 degrees on either side of that joint angle, you increase your strength capacity. So because we're pausing in the position where the movement is hardest, you're actually increasing your strength in that position more than anywhere else in the movement pattern. So that's a really long explanation on why pause reps are really, really good.
Yeah.
Do them all the time, basically. I think they're probably my most favourite, least favourite. And what I mean by that is because you get such a bang for your buck from how they kind of overload the system and the response that you get, but also they're really hard.
Yeah.
So I really don't like doing them myself for that reason. I think that's everything I've got on pause reps.
Yeah,
actually.
really quickly as well, it could also be to help fix form. Especially like the deadlifts, if I say like pause beneath your knees, or at the top, it could be specifically to help like a certain part of the chain get used to the load and help fix form.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say that's everything.
Yep.
So really briefly as well, we're going to go, because I don't want to make it too scientifical, is talk about the different heart rate zones. So you probably, if anybody does follow me more specifically on Instagram, you'll see this a lot on my Instagram mainly. So like what is, or all the Strava people these days, like what is an easy run, or what is a zone 2, or an easy pace, conversational, threshold, all of this.
Mm-hmm.
So some people, we had an actual real discussion with this with all the PTs today. Some people will argue it's absolute rubbish and to just generally listen to your body. And then some people will quite often listen to like what their coaches wrote, or maybe using like a Garmin type of thing. So to start with, there's 5 zones. Zone 1 is literally warm up, and it's your general everyday breathing, walking. Hopefully you don't feel like you're in a threshold state, just like
It's where me and you are
brushing
now.
your teeth.
Hopefully, yeah.
Um,
Gentle stroll.
Nice little stroll. Zone 2 is what we tend to see your easy paces. So this is what helps to build your aerobic general activities.
Yep.
So for me, that for like going on a run, it'll be really easy. I should be able to hold a conversation basically the whole time. But at the end of the run, I do feel a little bit hot and sweaty compared to like at the end of this walk, I'm probably not going to feel a little bit hot and sweaty. I could feel like I could go forever. Whereas the easy runs, easy bikes, things like that, it's just around that 100 to 120 heart rate. Can be a little bit higher, depends on your age. Then you've got the third one is aerobic. So that tends to be as well a little bit like your zone 2. It's in the middle. It's fine if you're on like a zone 2 bike or run to hit that stage, as long as it's not above that. So that kind of tends to be a little bit more physical activities. It might be things like tennis, netballs, bowls, things like that, rather than like really, really high energy where you're non-stop breathing, whereas things like squash and that you can stop. Then you've got...
I was always in zone 5 when I was playing squash. Mate. I don't know how you played squash.
What's
but it's
the,
really hard.
What's the one I played the other day? Paddle,
Oh,
stuff
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Like that is, you're hitting, you move a couple of times, but I'm not literally gasping.
Yeah.
I'm more just laughing because I look like a fool. Then you've got your zone 4, which is your threshold. So that is whenever we, like anybody who does maybe like, you know, interval training. So you're doing a really high intensity thing, and then you might stop a little bit, get your heart rate down, running up. It's what your body should be able to hold for up to 20 minutes. Any more than that, it shouldn't really, that's not your threshold.
Really struggle.
Then you've got your zone 5, which basically sums it up itself. That is when you're near your max heart rate, and you should be genuinely struggling. It tends to be the interval types which you have to physically stop to walk to get that heart rate back down.
Yeah. Basically, you're flat out and then pause to recover and then flat out again. Yeah. I think in terms of, well, I mean, what is your take on actually using them? Because I've got quite strong opinions on it, to be quite honest. But what's your take on using the specific zones at specific times, or listening to your body?
So I'm a Garmin person, so I did a lot of research when buying my watch to use a watch which makes more sense and has got more research. So I do, and I do use the zones massively, but doesn't mean I use my watch. I tend to listen to my body. So the fact that like zone 2 for me on my watch might be like, you're near zone 4, but actually I'm running with somebody, I'm able to have a full conversation, it feels dead easy on my body, but it's just my watch kind of telling us. However, I do also look at how my heart rate fluctuates, because it might feel easy but my heart rate is still really high. We'll want to keep it like down, because the aim is to build that aerobic zones. So a lot of my week, I do very high intensity training, so I tend to have, if I'm doing a double day, I'll do a higher workout but then a lower workout. So like a zone 2, so it's really easy conversational.
So a higher intensity earlier on in the day.
But then not every single day for me is trying to hit that zone 4. You know, I'm not doing really high intensity every day because that's just burnout. So I tend to do, my split tends to be an easy day, harder day, easy day, harder day. And that's what balances out for me. On a running perspective, most of my kilometres in the week are easy runs to build up my aerobic fresh.
It's interesting you should say that, because that kind of the first bit of your answer there, which I'd basically agree with all of that, which is interesting, because I thought I was going to disagree with some of the things you were saying. Because what I find is people will either go to one extreme or the other. They'll either ignore it completely and be like, oh, it's absolute rubbish, and you should just listen to your body, or they'll fall down the other side of the rabbit hole and be like, they do exactly what their heart rate is telling them to do. And I genuinely think the answer is kind of somewhere between the two. I trained without any kind of heart rate monitors and stuff like that for years and years. Well, let's just say they were really expensive when I was young, and I just used to go out and walk around the mountains. So didn't kind of feel that you needed them back in the day for that kind of stuff. But then I got a Garmin and started looking into it more. And I think for kind of working on metrics and looking at, are you seeing improvement? And is, for example, is your recovery quicker in those intervals, in those rests? I think for stuff like that, it actually really does have value, because then that can kind of step into your race strategies and all that kind of shenanigans. But I think people just get too locked into, oh, my watch is telling me to do this, or the numbers are telling me to do a certain, level of training. Bearing in mind that a lot of the heart rate monitors, much better than they are on your wrist these days, they're still not hugely accurate. So, if you're thinking some days, oh, your heart rate looks like it's spiking really hard, but you feel like you're working in zone 2, it's entirely possible it's because the heart rate monitor isn't picking up as effectively as it could be. Or they are much better than they used to be.
I'd say if it was like a running perspective, I would look at your pace for a zone 2 rather than your heart rate. And if, for example, for some reason I do put like less than 150 beats per minute, but that is because if I say go on an easy run, you tend to then go like a pace that I would put for your threshold because you just wanted to get the pace done. It is so much slower than you genuinely think it is. For example, if I was going for a 5k PB type of thing, I would be running at like 410 kilometre kind of pace. If I was to then go do it at an easy pace, that would be at a threshold, for 25 minutes type thing. If I was to go do an easy pace, I'm running at like a 6 to 6:30 pace. It's much slower. It tends to be so much more boring. So when somebody actually tells you to run easy and you're like, yes, get it, I'll run easy happily, it could be so much harder than you think.
I think that's very true as well. And that's somewhere where actually looking at the numbers can help, because people don't appreciate just how easy an easy run should be. I used to say to people, it's almost kind of fast walk pace for some of it, that kind of zone 2, working on that aerobic intensity, fast walk, very slow jog. It's pretty much all you should be doing, to be fair. And I think ultimately it comes down to, maybe worth touching on this as well, it comes down to the kind of the response that you're looking to get from your training. So if you're doing a lot of zone 2 stuff, it's very much that building aerobic capacity. So that's your body's energy system, where it can kind of take in and utilise the oxygen that you're breathing in, kind of the food reserves that you've got stored in your body, all that kind of stuff. And as you step up through those zones, you're then getting into like your lactic acid systems and kind of different energy pathways. So if you're an endurance runner, for example, if you do a lot of distance work, actually that aerobic threshold stuff should have a better carryover. But if you're a shorter distance, or middle distance runner, actually working a little bit more in that that kind of higher zones, working on that lactic acid energy pathway, can have a better crossover as well. So it kind of depends on exactly what you're training for. If you're doing anything sub 30 minutes, you probably want to be working more on that kind of higher zone, higher threshold sort of stuff. Anything beyond that, you should be working aerobically anyway, because your other energy systems just can't last that long. They burn out in that 20 to 30 minute mark, if not quicker.
I think for everyday life though, so for you that just maybe do just strength training and not interested in any like kind of cardio side, it's just simple things like, even your daily like walking upstairs. How many people walk up like 3 flights of stairs, feel genuinely so out of breath? I'm not judging you because I feel exactly the same. You feel so out of breath, literally.
Which flights of stairs? Like the Eiffel Tower flights of stairs?
I live on 3 floors. Trying to carry my work bags up. Bloody hell, I'm shattered. When you get to the top, it's how quickly does your heart rate then bounce back down. Are you literally like puffing for a good solid minute or two before that heart rate drops down, or does it instantly really quickly drop back down? And then again, it's the same for me for high rocks training. It's going from a run to then stopping to get to a station. I'll be running a threshold, but how quick can I get back that heart rate back down?
in the zone.
That's the aim, and the aim is to genuinely get our overall resting heart rate down as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
that's
having
it.
that, I'm going to say ultimately that kind of low resting heart rate, or that ability to recover, the less stress that your heart is under over the course of your life, the better. Is the long and the short.
Yeah.
I used to work in cardiac rehab, so this is something that's, let's just say I know a little bit about, because I've seen people who have had their hearts as stressed as it's possible to get. It's not a very nice position to be in. So yeah, when you kind of, like Joe said, even if you're not interested in that kind of athlete kind of thing, but if you do a lot of work within that zone too, then ultimately it means that your heart kind of just beats slower most of the time, therefore has a, let's just say you have a better quality of life, better cardiovascular health from doing that low level, let's just say fast walk, slow jog, that kind of stuff. There's really, really good health benefits from working within that training zone an awful lot as well. That's essentially why the government guidelines on this is that whole, whatever it is now, 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise across the course of a week. Moderate intensity exercise is getting ever so slightly out of breath, getting a little bit sweaty. There's your zone 2 training. Yeah, it's just that. Is that us?
Yeah,
Is that us
I'd
for
say
the day?
that was-
Yeah.
That was pretty much
Do I need to go and find my son?
everything.
Crikey, I do need to go and find my son. I'm coming out to see your dads very, very shortly.
Yeah, any questions on that, let me know. But it is really important to do a mixture of all different ones. It's why a lot of you have now got a new program, like a cycle in or whatever exercise I've said, just to kind of build that overall heart rate and general fitness. But yeah, any questions, please let me know for next week.
Yep.
I don't think we've got a specific topic yet, so if there is, let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll drop the usual any questions on Monday. Feel free to drop them in before then. But most importantly, perhaps we need to go back to the start. What is people's favourite Chinese when it comes to... I mean, that could be takeout, actually. No, let's not talk about that. It's not Friday yet.
Because we eat healthy all the time, don't we?
100%, mate.
Yeah.
100%. Right, on that bombshell. Let's call it. We'll see you all again soon.
Bye.